Hi, I'm Bruce Bolger. I'm founder of the Enterprise Engagement Alliance and the primary instructor for the CFO University Employee Engagement and Human Capital Management class, or course, I should say. And today we're going to talk about case studies. This is the final session, and we're going to give you some actual examples of the application of the principles that you've heard about over the last four sessions. So I'm now going to share my screen and take you through the PowerPoint that explains the various case studies. We're going to provide a strategic example of a strategic CEO-led enterprise engagement effort to rejuvenate a struggling retailer, Best Buy. Then I'm going to show you a sales engagement program for a media company to increase sales in a sustainable way by actually addressing the activities that salespeople have to concentrate on to increase sales. And then I'm going to provide an employee engagement program for a trucking company to decrease turnover and improve talent. I should say talent referrals. So the keys to success, as I think you hopefully have learned over the last four programs, is to have a strategic approach. And that's the key lesson here. The key lesson being that every CFO, every manager, everybody should be thinking like the CEO. And CEOs today have to have the ability to look at their organization strategically and to see how all of the audiences fit together and to see how all of the tactics that they use to engage them fit together. And it's really quite similar to the quality revolution that occurred in the 1990s when companies realized that they'd get a better result in quality manufacturing and logistics if they applied a strategic, systematic, and proactive approach that addressed all the people and issues that could affect the outcome. And so it's really a matter uh, for anybody who's in a management position to think of themselves as a chief engagement officer. How do you manage people in an effective way and run programs that are measurable and provide an ROI for your organization? So first, it's important whether you're looking at it from a macro standpoint as the CEO of a company, large or small or medium, or whether you're the CEO of a department, you're the manager of that department. You probably have a budget, you have people who report to you, and you have various tools you can use to engage people that the company provides. So the first thing you have to do is identify and understand the audience, the brand, the culture and values of that group. Is it corporate values that are clearly established, like a company like Starbucks? Or do you work for a company that has less clear values, less clear purpose? And it's often easy to find if your company is a public company or publishes a corporate responsibility report. Depending on your level of management, you can easily find that out. And you can certainly identify the brand and culture and values within your own team, whether it's a sales team, customer service, manufacturing, independent reps, supply chain partners. Everybody has an audience who have do more of something, who if they're more engaged will yield to a better outcome. And then you want to look today, especially of what kind of digital platform there is. Is there some way to connect with people on their smartphones? Does your company have apps or employee engagement or stakeholder engagement? Because frankly, with work from home and all of the other factors of the mobility in society and the fact that smartphones today are ubiquitous, it's really critical to have a technology solution if you can. And then, of course, whatever you're trying to do, you want to set realistic goals and the first thing you want to do is look at history. Has anybody ever done that before? Has anyone ever achieved that level of performance improvement that you're seeking? And if so, what were the conditions that was done? And if not, what are you doing differently this time to achieve that goal? Then you want to develop both qualitative and quantitative measures. Qualitative, obviously, are in this case the actions which, if done more of, yield desired results. Maybe that's sales presentations, maybe that's sales follow up. Um, in each business, there are activities which, if done more of, will yield a desired result. And you want to look at what those actions are. And then, of course, you want to look at quantitative measures. Did those actions actually result in the desired outcomes? Then, whenever possible, you want to assign a dollar value, I should say, to the desired goals and behaviors. What's it worth to you to achieve these goals? You want to identify potential obstacles. Um, Let me go back on the dollar value thing. You might say, well, how can I apply a dollar value to quality or productivity? Well, if you sit down, you usually can, because in many cases, companies are willing to do incentive and recognition programs and provide employees or people points for those activities. And those points are usually translatable into dollars. So if you're willing to give somebody a dollar's worth of points for doing something, it's got to be worth more than that for you to do it. So it's always good to go through an exercise as much as possible to identify the dollar value of an activity. And I'll show you how that we do that in a case study. And nothing is perfect, but I can assure you that when you attempt to do ROI measurement, even if it's imperfect, it'll be much better than if you don't do anything at all, which frankly is the case in about 60 to 70% of all companies, which do not generally measure seriously the ROI or the contribution to organizational goals of their employee engagement or other stakeholder engagement tactics. And then, whenever possible, you want to look at integrating those different levers of engagement. In previous sessions, we talked about what are the levers of engagement. Because it's not enough to have somebody want to do somebody, you've got to make it possible for them to do it. So you want to look at how you can integrate your communications, rewards on a single digital platform and in a single conceptual platform so that you're always reinforcing and integrating and aligning all the things you're doing to equip somebody. Think of it like an athletic team. You don't just throw different ad hoc, bright, shiny objects at an athlete. They follow a prescribed pattern of training, of measuring, of performance improvement that is strategic and systematic. Otherwise, it's rarely effective. And this applies to organizations as well. And it's also important to continually monitor results and engagement in this, the rewards and other issues that are needed or as needed based on what's happening with the program. So I'm going to start first. A great example of a strategic turnaround. Uh, and, and this is the story of Best Buy after the great meltdown of 2000. And in addition, the rise of Amazon, which almost put Best Buy out of business. And it was so battered by the recession and Amazon that they brought in Hubert Joly, a Frenchman who obviously is now American, to join as CEO. And he had been at Carlson Marketing Group before that. He had worked, I believe, for the great Kurt Carlson. So he had some real frontline experience in people management. And he came up with a strategic concept called the Renew Blue Plan. And it was basically to develop a new brand proposition to enrich people's lives through technology that would be promoted through a 5-year campaign that integrated their branding, their culture, their training, their communications, and their rewards to get everybody focused on the same key purpose. So what they first did, and the company was in deep trouble, they had a reorientation of resources. They cut staff and salaries of the corporate people. They reduced the use of corporate jets and invested in employee pay and training and new incentives to promote product knowledge, customer experience, and actual store performance. And they did this by integrating and aligning all of the different ways that they communicated and trained. And this is a large organization, no easy task. Well, the results are quite compelling. In 2018, the company achieved $285 million in annualized cost reductions as a result of the effort and gross optimization for a total of $1.6 billion since it began the program in 2013. Its operating income rose from about $1.3 billion to over $1.9 billion in 5 years, and employee engagement survey results increased and turnover declined during that period. And that's not easy in the retail business where many of the workers are going to be transient anyway. Now, here's an example of a media company's sales incentive program. And this is a fabricated program. And one of the reasons that this is a fabricated program is that it's very difficult to find a good, well-designed sales incentive program. None of this is taught in schools. Anybody who's gone through these sessions knows, hey, I've never heard about this anywhere else. It's barely covered in the business media. Where do you get books on it? There's a couple of associations that provide some training that, including ours, that very few people have heard of. So a lot of companies just wing it, and most of the programs tend to be very oriented toward do this, get that. It's like a basic carrot. And that can lead to all sorts of problems, as we've discussed or alluded to in earlier sessions, because if you get people focused only on the goal and not on the means of achieving the goal, you might actually promote bad behaviors because they'll do whatever they need to get to the goal, or you might promote cheating because that's all they care about. And then you really can't track what exactly enabled you to achieve the goals. Which behaviors led to those goals? Or was there any connection between the behaviors you were promoting and the achievement of those goals? A properly designed program enables you to get better information related to that, and it doesn't add time, and it generally doesn't add money unless you bring in an outside professional consultant. So let's look at this Jones Media. It's a small company. It's got 10 college-educated professionals that range all the way from their 20s to 60s. They've got a senior man there. They've got a mix of genders and ethnicities, and they're generally, competitive and goal-oriented people, like salespeople tend to be. Now, the potential return on investment, and that's where you always want to start. That's the first question. What can we achieve if we succeed? What is going to be the ROI? And most programs often avoid that simple question. And answering that question helps you develop the amount of resources that you're willing to invest or that you should consider investing to achieve that goal. So in this case, Jones wants to get a 10% increase in sales, which would translate into $1 million. And because their gross margins are reasonably good, it would put down about $500,000 to the bottom line. Now, what are the required behaviors? What do we want to encourage in this case? Well, in the case of Jones Media, they found that there's a direct correlation between presentations and the number of sales. And there's a correlation between salesperson market and product knowledge and sales close ratios. Those are two characteristics that management has been able to track over time. So they really want to encourage people to do sales presentations, and sales presentations can be tracked with a Zoom meeting or whatever type of meeting programs companies use. Can be tracked with that. Can be tracked with your Salesforce or your other CRM system. And whatever company, whatever you want to use to track it, though, make it simple, make it easy. Don't add work to people. Do everything you can to bake performance measures into your actual flow. So did you or did you not have a sales presentation with XYZ person? And now, what is the value to the organization? Well, I mentioned that the sales have a 50% per gross profit margin. They've calculated that having all of their employees participating in the training programs does have a value to the organization because of higher close ratios. They have found that salespeople that have diligently mastered the training programs generally have a better understanding of how to prospect, better understanding of the discovery process in a sale to learn what the client needs, and then more product knowledge and more agility in understanding how a product can be used or a service can be used to fulfill a client need. So the company decides that, it's worth $1,000 to the organization if everybody successfully, or if each person successfully completes that training program. And they've determined that the value of a qualified presentation is around $200, because even if the person doesn't buy now, they have found that people who actually do go through the company's 30 to 60-minute presentation have a higher probability of buying later. So obviously, when they're collecting data on the number of presentations, they can also collect data on the number on close ratios. So that's a very important indicator to see whether these assumptions are true. So goals and measures. Each salesperson develops with his or her manager a plan to increase sales by 5 to 15% based on their experience and past performance, and they earn points for achieving goals over quota that are worth approximately 10% of incremental profits. So for every $50 of incremental profits, a point might be worth $5. Now, each person also receives points for successfully completing all the training programs and for increasing their close ratios, which are all tracked by CRM essentially automatically. Communication. So the company does, in this case, have a digital employee engagement application that enables it to regularly communicate performance standings, the number of presentations, close ratios from the company's customer relationship management platform. So each employee can go in and see their own information, and then they can compare it to the aggregates of other employees so that they can see how they're doing compared to other people in the aggregate. And then the platform also includes short videos, training tips, and success stories that the sales enablement department comes up with to, quick information to help continually keep people informed. The training, the company uses the employee engagement application to support training on its products, on the marketplace, on competitors, and discovery selling processes. It develops soundbite type training that it can drip over time, reminders, quick videos. And the idea is also to share actual case studies and to have your top performers coaching newcomers. So you can also have a bonus program in this case that rewards the top 10% in the organization for helping newcomers and spending time, and that can be tracked also with CRM. Measurement. Again, customer relationship management makes all of this so much easier. You can use it to track sales, number of presentations, and success ratios, learning and community building efforts, i.e., the level of engagement in the application, the willingness of employees to recommend to other employees, knowledge levels, participation in community building efforts. All of these can be tracked on a good employee engagement app. And it's great to have all of this information on one platform because you can then correlate qualitative and quantitative information, including employees surveys in one place and see the relationship, make better decisions. So in terms of ROI, you can set up a simple table that shows you what your base data was from the year before for each of the measures, what the new data is, what the improvement is, what the anticipated value to the organization is, right? And you can weight it if you wish to see, well, how important are these different factors if you wish to apply a weighting to it. And then, so you can look at the base data. Last year we had 200 qualified presentations. This year we had 240. We had an improvement of 40. The value to the organization based on that figure we came up with is $8,000. And again, you can weight that if you wish. The participation in monthly sales training programs, again, that went up by 50%, the improvement of 50. We put a value on that of $10,000. So again, you can weight that if you wish. And then you can see what the ratio of presentations was and what the improvement was in terms of sales. So again, you can come up with an overall schematic that actually shows what happened. And then you can see the correlation. And in this case, the correlation was that there was $100,000 in improvement in $1 million improvement in sales. And so there was a correlation between the number of presentations and training and the increase in sales. Now, if there isn't, if you have a big increase in sales and then qualified presentations went down, if the participation in monthly training programs went down, then you have to assume that something else was going on, and that your efforts had nothing to do with it, in which case you want to investigate that, and next year you're going to change your program. But usually that's not the case. If you design good action measures and good behavior measures and good outcome measures where the two are properly correlated, you're usually going to see some kind of connection. So now I'm going to shift gears, no pun intended, to the trucking industry. Totally different type of application, totally different type of goals. Trucking industry, as many people may know, has a fundamental challenge, and that is turnover, recruitment. Less and less people want to drive trucks, especially long distance. Of course, the pandemic has changed that, or did change that during that period. But subsequent to that, obviously, turnover in this industry is going to be a major issue based on the fact that a lot of people don't want to live that lifestyle. So you do have to, if you're going to identify an issue, you can't just use a rewards and recognition program to get to a fundamental problem that goes beyond rewards and recognition. The pay is already pretty darn good in the trucking industry with overtime and other benefits. Truckers can earn, a very good middle class lifestyle. So there are other lifestyle issues that have to be addressed. So in this case, the company identified its key challenge in the audience is that the high turnover among truckers and high recruitment costs. What could they do to lower that? So in a facilitated meeting, often done without management, having a good outside consultant or advisor, or perhaps someone from HR who isn't viewed as management to get objective information, you actually talk to the group to develop what it feels are realistic goals. And then what would they recommend to address these issues? And by the way, the same approach can be used in the sales program. I neglected to say that it always is good to start any type of planning session with what's often called a nominal group technique, which is a technical word for a round robin, with representatives of the people that you're trying to engage to get their objective input as to what is necessary to achieve their engagement and to translate that into meaningful results. Well, in this case, what the company needs to do is to redress turnover. It has a terrible replacement time. It takes a while to replace a trucker. And so they obviously want to promote referrals. Excuse me, the group develops three goals that are translated into quantitative measures along with the means of tracking the information and, if possible, prioritize how important each of these items are in terms of weight. To what extent do these actions contribute to overall organizational results? And in this case, and that's not necessary, weighting is something that you can do or not do. It gives you some more granular information, but it's not always necessary. But you do want to look at, in this case, they decided the turnover was going to be 40% of the value of their goals. The replacement time was about 20% to reduce that replacement time, and increasing referrals was very important. So that also is 40%. So the group assigns a dollar value to each goal based on information provided by the accounting team. And at these meetings, you can have at these planning meetings, it's often good to have somebody from the CFO's office sitting in. And the group assigns a dollar value to each goal based on information that the CFO would buy into. And again, it's not always perfect. It can't be perfect. So you can be conservative on it, but any action, any behavior worth promoting has a value. So in this case, they can pretty good value, and they conservatively determine that it costs $8,000 when they lose a person. And there's a lot of debate on that because some people say it's much more, but they arrive at 4,000, at 8,000. And then the replacement time, about $500 a day is the estimate. And again, a lot of argument in the room on that one. A lot of people think it's harder, but CFOs can be tough and they want to be conservative. And then referrals are worth about $5,000 because that they can track. And again, it's a very conservative number because a referral, a new hire can sometimes be as much as 20% of their recruitment if they have to use a recruiter. So then really what's important is the group identifies a strategy to address some of the fundamental lifestyle issues that they believe the representatives at this meeting are affecting turnover. And this idea is to have a new route structure plan that enables more time at home, and then a social media strategy among truckers to share information more rapidly about job sharing, route sharing, or other type, and quickly old word of mouth system when everybody's on the road, calling people up on their cell phones. Hey, do you want to swap a route with me or a shift with me or something? That just isn't as efficient as being able to send out a blast to all that they're coming up, from my son, and I want to be there. Guys or ladies, can you help me with that? Potential obstacles. What can go wrong? Whatever type of idea you come up with, what could go wrong? It's important to anticipate that. Could people cheat in the numbers? Could the data that we get be wrong? Can the program, again, be manipulated in any way? Are there outside factors that you'd better, consider? To having this social media strategy. Maybe one of the risks is that the company employs a dumb social media platform that isn't easy to use and that people don't use. So you want to identify what the risk factors are so that as the program unfolds, you can see indeed what happened and had you anticipated the risks. And again, this step 7 here, once again, the importance of leveraging and integrating communications, learning, corporate responsibility, and other efforts to reinforce messaging to ensure that everybody has a clear message. In other words, you shouldn't just be flinging communications ad hoc at people. People are very busy. It's really important for the internal communications team to come up with a narrative, a story, and to take into account all the different things that need to be communicated to the truckers over the course of the year, not just this program and the element of the new route sharing plan, but other types of training programs, testing, et cetera, OSHA training, whatever that might be. And many companies make a big mistake in terms of not integrating these different elements so that the people are being hit all over the place. And another mistake is a failure to continually monitor what's going on. Are the truckers using the referral platform? And what's happening to turnover and recruitment cycle time? We've promoting this new program to reduce turnover and to improve cycle time, but what's actually happening along the way? So what are the keys to success here? Well, the team is continually feeds back information about both positive and negative that activates the organizational process to address the obstacles or opportunities. You don't wait until the end of the program. This might be a year-long program. Every month you're looking at data, you're getting feedback. How are our efforts working? We're out there promoting this new social media strategy that enables, and this new route strategy that should give our trucking company a competitive advantage. It should make truckers more willing to recruit, to help us recruit. It should make it a higher close ratio with truckers that we do talk to when they learn that we've developed a system that gives them more flexibility, that addresses their desire to spend more time at home with their families and less time at night in the cabs of their car in some faraway station. So what they also find in following this up is that they're getting a higher level of response, a positive response, because people are spending less time from home. They're using the social media platform. They're sharing tips. They're actually selling items to one another. They're creating a marketplace. They've even organized an online game. And so all of a sudden, this social media platform that they've developed has become part of the culture, part of the cohesiveness, and is creating an emotional bond that has an impact. Because what they noticed is that they got lost 2-person fewer in the tracked period. They were able to speed up the recruitment time by 2 days. They were able to improve the number of referrals by 6. They got 25 out of 40 people participating in the routing plan that they came up with, and they got 20 out of 40 participating in the social media financial benefits that can be weighted if you want to do that. But because obviously the only dollar value that can be clearly tracked to the bottom line is the turnover, the replacement time and referrals, all are there in a sense. But again, some companies might want to weight that for various reasons. So what are some kinds of questions that you might get in your examination? It's certainly fundamentally important to know the difference between qualitative and quantitative measures. What is the relationship of measurement types? Okay, what's the relationship between a qualitative and a quantitative? What is the master measurement model that we discussed earlier? What is the proper number and type of measurements to include in a program? We talked about never having more than 5 and probably around 3. And again, the master measurement model is that those tables that I showed you with base data and with actual data, and then the percentage change and the value that you've assigned to that potential performance improvement. And then we will want to talk about your understanding of the processes, the need to understand, what the objectives are, what the culture is, what the audience is, what's going to motivate them, what is the value of the performance to the organization, what's the potential ROI, what are the necessary levers of engagement. You want to have a participation process that makes sure that people know that the frontline people that are involved with the program were also involved with its development. You want to be continually monitoring it. You want to be integrating all of the different engagement tactics. You want to, if you can, have an engagement technology platform that enables you to align everything and measure these. And uh, you want to be able to compare survey data with actual data in terms of turnover and perception and whatnot. And if you do that on one platform, all the better. And then you always, as I said, want to monitor the results, make corrections along the way, whether it's learning, communications. You want to make sure that everything is aligned. And then at the end, you want to have a good, solid assessment. What happened? What were our qualitative measures? What were our quantitative measures? What's the relationship between them? And what's the bottom line benefit to the organization? So that pretty much covers the case studies here that I wanted to share with you. You can find, obviously, more information in our books, the Enterprise Engagement Roadmap, and then the Enterprise Engagement for CEOs that is included in the membership, the EEA membership. And those of you who are interested in getting an actual certification, that information is available at theeea.org. And if you're doing it through cfo.university, there are some special benefits that you get that you will learn about through cfo.university. So thank you so much for attending these 5 sessions. Anybody profit from the world of engagement. All of us are in management, are CEOs, that is, Chief Engagement Officers. Thanks again.